congratulations on winning the Draw This in Your Style challenge for the winter. And yeah, we can just start a sort of talk shop on, kind of like, your process and your inspiration behind it. So I'm looking at the illustration now and it's wonderful. Congratulations. And I could see why it won. It's very charming, very reminiscent of like childhood. And I don't know if you've ever lived anywhere that had snow.
New York?
Yeah, New York. Yeah.
When I was in New York, it was a bad snow year. I didn't get that much.
Really? Oh man. So you did see snow when you were up there, or no?
I saw it, but not like let's build a snowman snow.
Yeah, the first place I lived where we had like snow proper was Seattle, Washington. And so that's why when I look at this, like that really got me like reminiscent of like everything from like I was like elementary school to like high school or something like that. Do you kind of feel like when you were working on the illustration that it kind of like harkened back to like childhood memories? Or do you have a sister? Or are you only child? Or
Oh, yeah, I have a brother. I don't have any sisters. It's just me and my brother. He's a brother. But yeah, I feel like when I saw the original for that piece, I think there was a dad or like a third member in it. But I thought it could be so interesting, like you couldn't tell if the older woman was a mom or sister, but I thought it could be an interesting way to like kind of explore the relationship between them. And what happened, like, okay, you build this snowman. What are you gonna do? I thought more about Frozen and them like, you want to build a snowman. You're not only gonna build it, you're gonna play with it. So it was like, okay, what's gonna happen afterwards? How are those two gonna interact with the environment around them in this little thing? Kind of like a follow-up for the original piece.
Are you and your brother like close in age, or?
He's 5 years older than me.
Like
it's a good difference. Not, but it's like we're not in the same age. But I think that's relating to the illustration. I feel like the younger one is a little bit more. I feel like the older one is kind of like putting a puppet show, almost playing the theater for the entertainment of the younger one. And I feel that's me and my brother. And I think that's something that connects me to the piece. That is just like how that way of like, oh, I'm gonna do something and that's gonna make you laugh, and I know it.
Yeah. Mariana, take us a little bit through. So how long have you been doing art? Like seriously, like pursuing viz dev and art, illustration, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I started when I was 16, I think. Then I started with photography. So I started doing like photography gigs, just like photo shoots. And then, but I always knew I wanted to go into animation. It was just that I started professionally with photography.
I see.
So I was kind of like waiting. I knew I could, because I did most of my school in Brazil, and we don't have that much of like, I feel when I moved to the United States to finish high school, I felt like there was a much bigger like art community. And then I started having more like opportunities to work in animation and just like illustration as a whole. And then I think that when I got to college that I really started working with illustration. I kind of left photography. I want to go back into it, but now I'm mostly just doing like illustration, animation, game design for the last 3-4 years, I think.
3-4 years. Okay. And then I'm sure the photography skills and the illustration skills kind of feed each other, right? They kind of speak to each other in terms of like your illustration eye when you're taking photos, and then when you're taking photos, that kind of eye for photography helps the illustration side of things.
Yeah, I think the two biggest is composition. It was something that I was so big on. I love the Greek and where you compose, how you do, how you compose. And I mostly shot people and did photo shoots with people. And I was always like kind of worried about, okay, how are those people going to interact, and how is this going to come across on photo, and how is someone that it was not there at the moment. That it was not like behind the camera.
Oh, I love it.
How are you gonna read it?
I love
So
it.
I think like framing, what moment do you want to frame? And I think that's what goes across for illustration.
Like, what is your thought process when it comes to like approaching, like, it could be photography or like an illustration from beginning to end, starting with the idea, you know, and then going on to after that?
First of all, I think I always go to Pinterest to see what's
me too.
Inspiration, you know. What's there. I love Pinterest. I think Pinterest is the best.
Me too.
How do I start with illustration? Pinterest. It's the best thing. So I always kind of like Google around, I take a look, and then usually if I have an idea, that idea gets refined. If I don't, then I get an idea and I start to work on it and kind of develop. Now I'm starting to do different, like actually from my Rise Up Animation mentor, he said that I should be trying new camera viewpoints, like different angles, and I'm trying to translate that to animation. So I'm trying to, I usually do a Google search of like the idea, and then something different that I could do with perspective or point of view, something that is just like out of the ordinary to create something like a little bit more interesting. And usually I go straight, I work mostly digital professionally, like traditional art is more, but usually professionally just go straight into digital. And it kind of like starts building on each other. Like I feel the illustration is there, you just have to find it. So you start painting into it and it's like, oh yeah, change this color, change that color, and it just kind of comes together naturally, I hope.
Is there an emotion that you try to kind of start out with, or like a feeling that you want, you know, to get across?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that always for me, I'm trying to aim for joy, happiness, because I always say that I want my illustration to be joyful, happy, and like with a touch of something magical going around it.
I like it. I like it.
But that's my goal for everything that I do.
I think that kind of speaks to the artist, and I think it speaks to who you are as an artist, but also as a person as well. You know, I'm the same way. I mean, like there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about in our art that's a little bit maybe on the darker side, and I'm sure we admire artists in the past who talk about those things, and rightfully so. But I think, you know, ultimately what you just said of just trying to put some positivity, put it out there into the world, and put your art out there into the world, that kind of speaks to looking at a more positive experiences, like whether it's you growing up or your positive outlook on life and that kind of stuff. And I commend that to you. I'm the same way. And that's the only way that I can be kind of inspired. And it sounds like you're the same way too. When you're creating art, you're taking photography and that kind of stuff. What is the most challenging thing for you in terms of like how you feel like fulfilled by, you know, what you do or the photos that you take?
For photography, like I don't really do. I feel like my photography was a little bit dark, but I feel like my art is much more like brighter. My illustrations now as a whole. And I think that it definitely is challenging in a sense. I feel like the ideas to me, they come more naturally if it's something happy. If someone comes and is like, oh, make something that is towards like horror, maybe, I would have no idea how to begin that. That would be completely like, I wouldn't even know how to start. But if something like joyful, I know where to begin. At least I know like which path to take. But getting to the end, it's definitely a challenge because people, I feel like, even though happiness and like all those emotions are something universal, there are different ways to approach it, and something that makes some person specific happy is not going to make the other. So I always try to achieve to something that is like could be universally, it could universally make people happy.
I mean, that's a great segue into the next question of like, very much for this piece, but also kind of for the work that you've been doing in illustration. What would you like viewers to take away from this piece, your art, looking at the body of your work that you do? Like, what would you like the viewer to take away from that?
Yeah, I think I want people to walk away from it a little bit, I don't know, with something warm inside, maybe warmer than what
Yeah.
they had before. Or
Yeah.
just like a little bit of a sparkle of joy inside of
Yeah.
them. Because I feel like, especially with Illustrator, I work now mostly with illustration and animation. I
Hmm.
feel that animation, you have a little bit more time to
Hmm.
get the viewer where you want them to be.
Yeah.
But with an illustration, it's one single image, and you have to get there instantly. By the time the person looks at it, they have to. That's it. That's all the time you have for them to process it and for it to change into something. So I want them to have that one moment to be like, "Oh, that was nice. Oh yeah, I saw that
Yeah.
too."
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Every time someone texts me and is like, "Oh, I saw this that you did. It's so cute. I'm so," and I'm like, "Oh, it makes my
Thank
day." It's
you.
my week.
Yeah. 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 I know there's all kinds of art, but like I do art because exactly the same intention as you are, just like putting positive stuff out there into the world, putting value out there into the world, whether that's comes in the form of like, just fun or relatable experiences or sharing your experience. Mariana, you mentioned your mentor, and I was just kind of wondering of like how has that relationship been? How's your experience been with Rise Up and meeting your mentor and interacting with your mentor and that kind of thing?
Mhm. Yeah, I love Rise Up animation. I have so much fun with it, especially because of, I feel like during the gap year, Rise Up has been kind of my college. I keep looking at panels, what's going on, what's going around. I think it's so much fun. Yeah, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I was one of the first like followers there. I was just like,
Oh,
this is
really?
cool. Yeah, I
Oh,
saw
nice.
it and I was like, this is good. I like this
Mm-hmm.
because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, especially at the pandemic, there was no way to really like interact with people, especially in the community. And I feel like a lot of animation is in LA, and
Mm-hmm.
since I was in New York,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a lot of that community. Especially, I was looking a lot to look at like mentorships from Disney, from Pixar, and that's just not something that you find because the people aren't there. They're in
Mm-hmm.
California. So when I saw
Mm-hmm.
Race, I was like, this is a good like like, and it's something that even when I'm back in New York, it's something I
Mm-hmm.
keep going. And I don't know, I've been having a lot of fun with it because with the
Yeah.
panels, it's just, and the relation to my mentor, I did it twice, I think. I did like the first 2 months, I think, that they started it with the mentorships,
Mm-hmm.
and I was kind of like, I didn't know what I wanted to do in animation, but
Mm-hmm.
I watched a panel by Michael Herrera, I believe,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
story
Mm-hmm.
panel,
Michael
and that was
Herrera.
like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, after that I was like, okay, I'm becoming a storyboard artist. That is my goal
Really?
now. Yeah, it was because of Rise
Whoa.
Up, because I saw it and it, like before, it's even crazy to think because it wasn't that long ago. It was like beginning of the pandemic, but I had no idea like what roles were within animation. What I remember my first talk with the first person that I had a mentorship with.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, I don't know what to do. I just know that like I know what kind of movies I want to make. I know this, but if you put me inside a studio and tell me choose, you can have any role in here. I don't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know a lot about rigging. I didn't know about like the roles, and I felt
Yeah.
like the panels kind of brought up all of the possibilities, and I saw the story one. I was like, okay, that's it, I found it. And then my second mentorship is a story one.
Oh, nice. Okay. Okay, great. Yeah. So you're pursuing a story artist now. The role of a
Yeah,
story artist?
yeah, that's what I'm
Nice.
going for. That's what I'm like, because it was something that I realized that I do a lot of frame by frame animation, and I would
Yep.
always think like, oh man, it would be so much fun if like I could do something
Mm-hmm.
that is like just for someone to get the idea, and then someone else animates and do the like all the long process that is animation.
Right.
And
Right.
then we're like, oh
Right.
yeah, that's storyboard. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So I feel like I
Yeah.
finally found my animation place.
Yeah. I mean, so like I have like a two question thing. So like my first question, going deeper, like what it was about that story presentation that kind of clicked for you, do you think, in terms of like what you wanted to pursue?
I think that my main one was that I think even Mike said that he was an actor and he worked on that. And before, I always said that I wanted to work in cinema.
Mm.
And that was it, like cinema, movies. And I felt like storyboard is the most cinematic part of animation because you're kind of like, you're the cameraman. Even with when I did photography, I was the cameraman and now I'm the cameraman, but I can't draw it, which is even better. It's like everything that I loved combined, and just like all of the acting, it has everything that I love about animation compiled into this one little story process.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just so awesome. And I think that in that one, something that struck out as well is like, I like to draw, but I don't know if I like to do like 3D stuff, but I don't know how I would be as a 3D person. And that was something that I didn't know what to do before. How can I work in animation now in a CGI world? Drawing. And that was like, when I saw that it's possible and people hire and people pay other people to do that, it's such a wonderful like gift wrapped in a bowl that when I found out what storyboard was through that presentation, I thought it was awesome.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. And I'm glad that you were inspired by it. I was inspired by that talk too. I was like, Mike, this is amazing. And you know, that's the whole point of a lot of these like panels, of just kind of like showing, you know, anyone like around the world that just like they don't usually have these resources, but you know what you can actually, you can be in the animation industry and what you can end up doing, and all the different kind of disciplines and the people that work there, how they work, how hard they work to get there, and all that kind of stuff. So, but to close it out, Mariana, what's next for you? Like, you know, from here on out, like, what are your big goals, and what are you doing to kind of like take the little steps to get there, or take it away, close us out.
Yeah, I think that now I'm finishing up all of my gap year projects. I've been doing mostly like freelance. So I've got some short animations that are due to come out.
All right.
I'm really excited about, but I've been working for like the whole period of the gap year, and they're finally like almost done. So those I'm kind of excited for. But then college it is, and I'll be in college, and then graduate, and I'm hopefully going to a studio. That is the plan for now. That's my work.
As a story artist.
As a story artist, of course. That is the plan. Oh yeah, and I'm mostly working like, because I found out storyboard. I know I want to do. Now I need a portfolio. That's the tricky part of it. So I'm working on that.
Awesome. Okay, so I will say, we're blessed to have found like our passion in life, which is kind of like going into the animation industry and kind of pursuing that, because it gives us a goal, it gives us something to shoot for, and gives you and I something to shoot for. And then beyond that, like once you found, like you said, like I saw this, I want to be a story artist, that's even better, because like then you can kind of focus in on like what you want to do within the animation industry, you know, which is very key, especially for someone kind of like breaking in, getting their first gig and all that kind of stuff. So that's even like a big thing too as well. And so, I mean, I think like once you have what you'll probably see this, like once you kind of have that like target that you're kind of aiming for, and the more specific it is, all you got to do is just kind of like, you know, bring in that hard work, work hard, work smart, surround yourself with like, when you go back to New York, surround yourself with like like-minded, ambitious people that are as hardworking and as ambitious as you. And then, you know, it's just a matter of time, you know, and you'll have your day. The big part, as you'll probably agree, is like having that target. That's the big thing, you know, and it's hard to come by sometimes for us and for a lot of people, but you found it. And and just go after it with everything that you have, every fiber in your being. If it like come heck or high water, you know, just go after it, go after it, go after it. And you know, I can tell that you have what it takes, and you have the work ethic, and you have the talent and the skill to do it. So I mean, all I can do from here on out is encourage you, tell you that you're on the right path, keep going, and I'll be working with you someday in the industry.
So much fun to think about, like, because I grew up with all of these movies that made me the person that I am. I remember like I started drawing with how to draw Disney books.
Yeah.
And so I have
Yeah,
like the
me.
character that I draw the most is Mike Wazowski. I have 3 Mike Wazowski post-its right in front of me because I just told him. And I've been doing that since I've been like, I was like 3 years old. And to think that like now I'm actually heading towards a path, like something that I've been saying my whole life, oh yeah, I'm gonna be doing this as a job one day. And now I'm closer to it, and it's coming.
Yeah.
That's insane to even think about.
Yep. Mariana, every week you're closer to it. Every month you're closer to it. Every year that you're at school and you're working hard, you're closer to it. You know, and I will say, I mean, like, you know, to what inspired you to get into animation in the first place, hang on to it with dear life, you know, and just always remember why you got into it and why you wanted to do it in the first place. You know, there's going to be hard times, there's going to be like rejection, setbacks, and all that kind of stuff. But like, as long as you kind of remember why you wanted to get into the first place, you know, no one can snuff your candle out, you know, at that point, because you're driven. Even you doing this, and I'm looking at your Instagram of just like posting all the time, trying to get better with every illustration and doing all that stuff. Keep that up. Keep your social media up. Keep like pushing yourself with like every illustration, and you know, whether it's like the drawing, the color, the light, the action, the acting, and anything like that. I mean, like, you know, put yourself out there. And I love that you're doing that. You're putting your work out there, getting better all the time. That's why I say I have no doubt that we'll be working together sometime in the future, hopefully. You know, that's the recipe to kind of like making it. It's just kind of like, keep going, man, keep going. And yeah, it's kind of like an ambiguous thing, but I will say that don't let anyone kind of deter you from the dreams that you want to accomplish, no matter how high they are. I mean, like, you couldn't even imagine when I was in school, getting to Disney is like impossible, right? But whatever your dream is, Mariana, like getting to Disney, getting to Pixar, you know, having like a art gallery in New York with your personal art up and that kind of stuff. I mean, like, aim high, aim as high as you can, and just kind of live in that space where like you're kind of chasing excellence. You're on your purpose, and you're trying to make your way. You're trying to make your dent in the universe, trying to make your voice heard, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I'm all about that kind of stuff. I mean, just like I sound like a motivational speaker now, but like that's
no, but it's so good to hear. I'm like, because I usually hear it in the panels, and it's like to everyone, but now like to me, it's so cool. No, it's great advice. Like everything that you say, like I'll try to take it to heart, because it's true, like big goals and big targets, because it does seem impossible from where I'm standing. But I feel like as long as, I think especially what is said about knowing why it started, it's so important to know to get to the end.
I guess that's all I had for you. I want to be respectful of your time, but this was wonderful. It's great catching up with you, and great hearing about your goals and what you want to do, and good luck.